Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevett, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobelli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation bus. That's right.
Hi, I'm Jason. Welcome back to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. We are excited today. We are going back over the pond, aren't we, Scott?
Yeah, but we're going the opposite direction. This time we're going down under.
That's right, way down under. And we got the great Dr. Ashleigh Moreland. Doctor, how are you?
Hello, I'm amazing. So good to be here.
Ash, we're
Welcome,
excited
welcome.
to have you. It's wonderful. So shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? Well, that's a bit of an existential question to start with, isn't it?
That's right.
In this flesh meat suit, I'm Dr. Ashleigh Moreland. I am based in Melbourne, Australia. Professionally, I am a neurophysiologist, and that means I'm an expert in the nervous system. And my PhD was in neuroplasticity. So, how can we change the brain in response to new and novel experiences? And also, I'm a psychotherapist, but I also go really deep into the spiritual sort of side of healing and, soul-based modalities, I would say.
Nice. Well, Dr. Ash, we also know you happen to be a mother, so that's another thing.
I am, absolutely. So on a personal level, yes, I'm all the hats. I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a leader.
Full time.
I'm the CEO of Remind Institute, which is another role. So lots of hats in this house.
So what's this Remind Institute that you just mentioned? What's that all about?
So Remind Institute is an organization. So the context of this is I was a university lecturer for 12 years. So I had always kind of been in the educational sector. And as you would understand, education is about selling information. I have a big belief that information doesn't change lives. Information makes you smarter, information gives you understanding, but it doesn't give you transformation. And so the Remind Institute is not just about giving people information about how their brain works, about their nervous system, about human behavior or relationships or leadership. It's actually about taking people on their own journeys for revelation. And I believe revelation is like that deep embodied spiritual revelation that then opens up the doors for transformation. So Remind Institute, we do offer courses and we do offer programs, but it's not just to learn. It's not just for information. Yes, you will learn, but it's more about the revelations around identity, around sense of self, around, that soul-based identity. And it's funny you asked me straight off the bat, who am I? Because that's a lot of the work that we do is help people to, I call it unbecoming. You're unbecoming who you had to become to survive in this life, or who you had to become to fit in, or to be liked, or to be good enough, or who the world created you to be, so that you can then step fully into the authenticity of who you were actually created to be, like your spiritual self.
So then what we're talking about is Dr. Ash is a spiritual being then, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my alter egos anyway.
Well, doctor, it sounds like you have a lot of things where you're based in science, but then it also sounds like you got your other foot in the woo-woo world. So
Yeah,
what is it? Where are you?
Absolutely. It's both. And this is the really interesting thing. I got into neuroscience because I like facts and I like data and I like things to make sense. I very much like logic and reasoning. And I thought, well, the brain is the control center of the whole body, right? So if we have a problem, we just need to fix the brain. If you fix the brain, Everything should be fine and dandy. And so I thought, well, let's just focus on that. Let's do a PhD on learning everything I can about how to change the brain, because if we can change the brain, we can solve everyone's problems. And for me personally, this mattered to me because I was a customer of the mental health system for over 20 years. I've got a whole top drawer full of labels. I'd been on all the medications. I've got all the diagnoses. And I had done therapy and everything else for over 20 years. And the best they could offer me was like this, you just got to manage it. And I thought, well, that seems like not a very good deal. If that's life, I probably don't want that. And that's why I kind of felt really strongly about going, well, if we can change the brain, then surely I can change my brain and I don't have to live like this any longer. Like I can move, I call it going from a living hell into heaven on earth. And throughout my journey, I sort of started to realize that maybe the brain didn't have all the answers, because you could do the exact same thing to people who on paper were as identical as you could get, but they would respond completely differently. And it was very subjective almost in how their physical body was responding to things. And so I was thinking, why? Why does this happen? And, in beautiful way that only can be described, I guess, spiritually, or if you're comfortable with the word universe or whatever, I had this series of events that led me down this metaphysical pathway and understanding the soul and understanding the mind, and that the mind and the brain are not the same thing. And we have this whole entire pillar of health that we call mental health. And yet all of the studies of psychiatry, all of the psychology studies are about the brain. And there's this kind of misunderstanding globally that the brain and the mind are used interchangeably, but the brain is physical. We can measure it, we can touch it, we can hold it in our hands if we want to. Your brain is in your body at this time. I think it's 4:10 for you on what day is it there? Thursday. And it's 10:10 in the morning on a Friday for me. That's where my brain is right now. My brain can't go to 6 p.m. tonight to have dinner, but my mind can. And so our brain has these qualities of, or these characteristics of time, and it has space. It's in the here, that's the space, and it's in the now, that's the time. But our mind, being metaphysical, doesn't have those same characteristics. Our mind has no time or no space. And so that's what allows our mind to be able to go back into the past. It's what allows our mind to go forward into the future. But the crazy thing is, which isn't crazy to you guys because you'd be all over this, but for most of humanity, people don't understand that the reactions that are happening in their brain in any given moment are largely driven by where their mind is. If it's going back to the past when something really sad happened, their body is going to release chemicals in real time of that sadness. If they go into the future and they're worried about the interest rates or, the cost of living, or if they're going to lose their job, their body in real time is going to release chemicals of fear. And their brain is going to be responding to that in real time with no other intervention whatsoever other than where the mind is going. And so this started really interesting me, going, oh man, I thought the brain was the answer, but it goes so much deeper than that. And that's what led me to kind of what I do now and where I am now. So it's both. It's both. We need to understand the brain, and we need to understand what's happening in people's nervous systems. And I think clinically, that gives me a lot of information about what people are experiencing. But then it's about understanding what is in their mind, and what I call it the kind of the weeds, or the lies, the deceptions, what's in their mind that is causing these issues in their physical flesh body in any given moment.
So to put it bluntly, in order to fix the brain, the mind's got to get their shit together, huh?
Exactly. And so you asked about the Remind Institute. The Remind Institute, that name is actually it's inspired by a Bible verse, actually. It's Romans 12:2, which says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so Remind is renewing of your mind. And our logo has a brain. So if you see, it's got a brain and it's got the two little arrows, which is about going backwards. You're rewinding to try and process the stuff from the past. And the remind is renewing of the mind.
Nice,
That's
nice.
cool.
So then you prefer to keep out of the past and keep out of the present, I mean, out of the future and stay in the present, correct?
Well, that's the end goal, but to be able to do that, we need to be able to process the things that are unprocessed from the past so that our mind and our brain kind of get the memo that we're actually safe. Like I'll give you a silly example. I've got this water bottle sitting next to me. Let's say if I was, I don't know, 18 years old and someone came and beat me up with this water bottle. Well, now in my mind, I'm going to see this as a threat. If I see this water bottle, that now has a memory that it will be encoded into my brain, which says this water bottle is dangerous. You need to prepare the body to evade that threat. So increase the adrenaline, increase the cortisol, prepare to fight or run away or have this anxious sensation in the body. And that's the preparation of the nervous system to evade the threat. But it's not about just going, well, if I just stay in the present moment and stay in the present moment and stay in the present moment and stay in the present moment, then I don't have to think about that time I was beaten up with a water bottle. That's not the goal. The goal is for me to be able to process that unresolved trauma in my mind and my body. So at the body level, I've got to actually process the chemicals from that experience. But then at the mind level, I have to actually create a new story that says, this is just a water bottle. It's not a weapon. It's nothing else. It's just a water bottle. And just because that happened when I was 18, it might mean that now I'm having these reactions. I walk into a room and see the water bottle and go, get me out of here. And so I find that the way that we achieve presence in the moment is to process all the stuff from the past that feels unsafe so that we can settle in the moment. It's kind of the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of aligned with some of my stuff. But listen to me, let me ask you another question. So earlier, you said that we have the brain and the mind, and then you brought something else in, the soul. So how does the
Yeah.
soul play into all this?
Oh gosh, there's so many schools of thought on this. And I think that it would be remiss of me to speak as an authority on it because the reality is I don't know.
But we're
But
going down your highway, so you
so
can speak
speaking
on your
from my
highway.
experience, I think that they're related. So the mind and the soul are related. But then you've also got spirit. And spirit and soul are also related, but not the same thing. So our soul has this desire to experience, and it wants that there's no judgment of good or bad. Our soul wants to experience. It wants to experience hot. It wants to experience cold. It wants to experience hurt. It wants to experience love. It wants to just experience. And through those experiences, when we experience something that's traumatic, i.e., our physical body gets so overwhelmed by that experience that it almost leaves like this chaotic energy of chaos and confusion and fear in at that soul level. And it's spoken about as soul fragments. So let's say, I don't know, we were a child and tragically our parent passed away. In that moment, if that felt traumatic for us and we couldn't adequately process that experience, then we're going to kind of like break off a part of our soul and leave it there. And that then creates an attachment, I guess, to that past experience and past event. And so the reason I talk about unbecoming is because that at a soul level is we kind of play dress ups. And that's where the inauthenticity becomes very heavy. And so I kind of look at, what do you call it? Like midlife crisis. When people go through a midlife crisis, more often than not, that's the realization that all of these dress ups that they've put over the top of the next, over the top of the next, over the top of the next of their soul has become so heavy that now they're getting really anxious and they just want to take it all off and they just want to be true to who they are. And so at the soul level, to be able to express and experience all experiences without holding on to the weight of the unprocessed emotion or the trauma or anything else, we need to do that through the mind to be able to express and experience in that sovereign journey of our soul.
Nice. So now that you got all this going on and you got all this knowledge and all this wisdom, and I know I can tell by talking to you, it's definitely who you are, and it's a big part of you. Don't you feel it at home? I mean, what about the son and the husband that say, "Oh my God, here comes the psychotherapist again," or does that ever come up?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question, actually. And it's something that I'm really grateful we have good communication. So this is me. This is my innate natural state. This is my, like, it's who I am. And my husband has reminded me a number of times, I need wife Ash, not Dr. Ash. And so if things are coming up, I need to be really present in my body and present in the moment and think, who am I as wife? And how does wife Ash show up right now? How does wife Ash handle this? Because he doesn't need me to be his therapist. He needs me to be his wife, and we're in that together. And it's the same, I've got two kids. I've got a daughter who is 8 and a son who's 11, almost 12. And even a number of times with my son, when he's been navigating difficult things, I will ask him, I think it's about permission, right? Like, I will ask him, do you need Mum Ash right now? Mum Ash will just keep her mouth shut. She will just hold you. She will cuddle you. She will love you and give you all the space and comfort. Or do you need Dr. Ash right now? And giving him that permission to say, I just need Mum Ash. I don't want you to tell me what I did, or I don't want you to tell me how to think. I don't want you to help me see any solutions. I just need a cuddle. And giving them permission to be able to say, this is what I need from you right now, because that's me honoring their soul's sovereign journey. Even if I can see the solution, and even if I know what they need, and even if that's me who needs to be able to process my overbearing need to be helpful and fix people's problems, rescue people. It's not about rescuing, it's about honoring their sovereign journey.
Well, and then it keeps you out of that position of trying to control everything too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to find a scientist who doesn't have a controlling nature. Because science is all about control. Science is about controlling variables and controlling experiments and all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely been a huge journey for my soul, is learning how to feel safe in the surrender and not having control of things all the time, and trusting that other people can have their journeys and that's theirs, and anything their journey brings up for me is mine, and I can deal with that. But that has been a path and a half for me to walk.
So this question is not for Dr. Ash. This question is for Ash.
Yep.
Ash, when
Mhm.
did you have that aha moment? Like, wow, I can really make a difference in people's lives and help them. When did you have that, and what was that all about?
Oh gosh, I would say when I was 30. So being in Melbourne, we were the most locked down city in the world when COVID happened. And as I said, I was a uni lecturer for 12 years. So I always loved teaching. I always loved helping people, but I was really frustrated at being so restricted and limited in the system. And when I was 30, I literally just had this turning point. It literally was a 180-degree turning point where I went, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And life had gotten so hard and so heavy that I thought the only options are either I check out of life completely or things make a complete turnaround. Because if this is life, I don't want it. And hitting that rock bottom and feeling like I had tried everything really took me on a journey of going, I am desperate to heal. So then when I went through that process of healing and learning all the psychotherapeutic stuff and all that sort of thing, I think it just activated something in me, almost like an initiation. You got to walk through the fire. It's the initiation of fire. On the other side of that initiation, it just activated something in me that there's so many people who feel that. There's so many people who are literally walking. Everyone's scared of going to hell when they die, but they don't realize that hell's not a place, it's an experience. So many people are experiencing hell every day of their lives. I was. And for me, I just went, if I can make a difference and if I can help take people from their living hell into their heaven on earth, then I want to commit the rest of my life to doing that.
Nice.
Nice.
So you're talking about you making a difference. The next question is who's made a difference in your life? Who are some of your
Oh my
mentors, some
gosh.
of the people who's really impacted you?
Oh, what an amazing question. And my answer to this would have been really different. If you had have asked me prior to this, my answer would have been probably authority figures. Um, Understanding my soul's journey and understanding my healing path and the whole entire journey that's led me to here, my answer is really different. Like I grew up in a really volatile home. I experienced quite a lot of childhood trauma. And even though a lot of that trauma was at the hands of my dad, I can now see the role that he had to play in my soul's journey for me to be initiated into fulfilling the calling on my life, right? And so, as bizarre as that sounds, my dad played a huge role. Um, my son, my firstborn son, I only have one son, my firstborn child. Um, he has had more of an impact on my life than almost anyone I've ever experienced because he forced me to be reborn, like literally shifting my identity as a mum. So they're probably the people who have given me the greatest catalysts for growth. And then my daughter, this is a really interesting one. I really struggled to connect with my daughter for quite a long time. And I didn't really understand why. But my daughter and I are very alike. And she's very strong willed. And even to the point where if you put two photos of us together at the same age, you almost can't tell us apart. And I think as a product of my own kind of difficult childhood and having to suppress who I was to be safe and to appease my dad, my daughter brought up a lot for me that had she not been in my life, I probably could have gone the rest of my life without ever having to look at. And so my kids have been probably the greatest help in my healing journey, as well as the other two people who have played the biggest role in hurting me in my life, which is my dad and my first husband. Um, they're the people I'm most grateful to. They've been my greatest teachers.
Nice. Scott, it's your turn. You got any questions you want to throw out here for Ash?
Sure. So Ash, let's flip the direction we are. Let's go 10 years into the future. And you're looking back. What do you expect to see that you've accomplished?
Oh my gosh. I think it's a foolish attempt to even try, to be honest, because if you asked me 10 years ago, what would my life look like? It wouldn't be this. But let's have a play. So, as far as Remind Institute, we really feel that the work that we're doing, much like the mind and the brain are not the same thing, the world and the earth are not the same thing. The earth is the physical planet, the world is the metaphysical representation of that in our own mind. So we want to change the world. We want to change people's metaphysical worlds in their own lived experience. And 10 years from now, we have the most amazing team. My hope is that leveraging things like AI and leveraging things like the internet and technology, we can take my work and within a click of a button translate that into hundreds of languages, which just means that this wisdom and this important information can reach the absolute corners of the world that previously might not have been possible. So we want to completely reimagine the way that humans interact and engage. We want to completely reimagine the way that trauma is, I don't want to say the word treated, but maybe trauma is healed, resolved, overcome,
Addressed.
yeah, globally. And we really believe that with the collective unity of healing and the ascension of humanity that that's going to be a really possible thing.
That's
And
interesting,
we
adding
noticed,
that
answer, isn't it?
technology side to it.
we noticed you said you have a team.
Yes.
So who's your team?
Yeah, so I have a few people on my team. Formally, we have, and this is something that I deeply care about, because as probably just was indicated, you know, being able to take what we do and make it accessible for people in the far and wide parts of the world, not just the Western economy who operate in our, you know, our economy who can afford to pay what we charge. There are people who out there who one of our programs is more than what they even earn in several months, you know? So one of the things that we do is anyone who works for us gets access to all of our programs. And then as they for free, obviously. And as they learn and heal and grow, that creates a ripple effect in their homes and their communities and their culture. So we employ people in the Philippines, and they are amazing. This stuff is not really widely accessible there. And it has been so transformational for them. It's really exciting. So we have social media, we have like an kind of like an operations manager. And then we have some local team who support with just some ad hoc stuff. But as far as clinical stuff and as the IP behind Remind, that's all based off my expertise. So yeah,
So this is your baby.
it's my baby. Yeah. I feel like I'm the custodian of it though. Does that sound weird? I don't feel like it's mine.
No,
I don't feel like it's mine, and I don't feel like this is about my glory or, you know, anything like that. I feel like this whole idea was inspired. It wasn't my idea. It came to me and I was courageous enough to obey it, even though it scared me, because I had to walk away from a 12-year career that I'd studied 10 years at uni for. I had no experience in business, and I followed a calling, and still every day I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. But we're doing amazing things. So I feel like I'm the custodian of it. And at some point, maybe I won't be, you know, I'm prepared for that. So no attachment, just full surrender. And that's a wild journey.
Nice. Nice. So here's a big question for you. How do our viewers get a hold of you?
So Remind Institute is everywhere. You can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook, pretty much all the social media. We're very out there, so people can access us there. We have a podcast that we don't do guests on the podcast. I actually started it again. It's my heart to help people, because a lot of people couldn't afford services. And so I committed to releasing a podcast episode every single week on something that would help people in their life, something that would reveal something to them, would teach them something. And we've released over 100 episodes now. And that was really my heart, to help people who couldn't afford help or who couldn't access help through traditional channels. Like the wait lists to try and see psychologists in Australia is up to 12 months at some places. So having this resource was something I started as I guess a community service, a heart posture to serve humanity and make a difference, even for the people who couldn't afford it. So you can find that on YouTube, on anywhere you get podcasts and that kind of thing. So find us anywhere.
Nice. Scott, do you have another question?
I like how that's very Ericksonian, Milton Ericksonian of you. Giving back, just taking to what they can, whatever. He traded,
Yeah.
I know a story where he traded this lady eggs so he could treat her. She would bring him eggs. So that's very cool.
Yeah. I
So,
really am a big
Ash,
believer
we
in
really
that. Like, I
appreciate you
literally
coming
just said
out.
to my husband this morning, I had a really crazy experience. And this, as I said, this has been learning the authenticity piece, right? And the healing journey. So I had someone reach out. Well, I reached out to someone who was asking for someone to speak to their business or their organization on change management and on conflict resolution and all this sort of stuff. And when I gave them the rates, They said, oh, we can't afford that. And there's a previous version of me who would have said, well, what can you afford? Let me drop my rates so that I can make this accessible for you. And instead, I didn't. I helped them. I gave them all the leads. I said, if you don't have the budget, this is what I encourage you to do. This is what you need to cover. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to approach it. And if the time ever comes where we can work together, I fully believe that that will be made possible. And then I woke up this morning to a message saying, how much would it cost to have you for a full day? Now, I had only quoted for a 2-hour session. And I woke up this morning saying, how much would it cost to have you for a full day? Because maybe we could book you for the conference where everyone in that business contributes and pays a fee to attend the conference, which would cover my fee. And I look at that and go, that there, my dysfunctional desire to want to help and rescue people actually would have disempowered them, because now it's possible they get a whole day of help and support rather than 2 hours, which would have stretched them anyway. We wouldn't have been able to get to the root of what was really going on. And you can see examples of that everywhere. So I really believe that if we put the stuff out there, if we help people and we make it accessible for people, not everyone is going to take the next step and actually go, right, I'm really serious about healing. I'm really serious about evolving and transcending. But it eliminates all the excuses not to. It's costing you zero money. You don't have to wait. It's available right now. So if you can take all the excuses off the table, now what's stopping you?
Well, that's an easy question, Dr. Ash. The thing that stops is the thing that always stops.
That's
And
right.
that's the fear of being in that uncomfortable zone.
Exactly. It feels existential. If
Yeah.
I'm not this, then who am I? And that's really scary.
Yes.
It's also worth it, as we all know.
Nice. Nice.
It's
Well,
very.
Scott, do you have anything you want to add?
Dr. Ash, thank you for coming and spending part of your day with us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
It's an absolute
Ash,
pleasure.
you have anything you want to add, Ash?
No, you guys asked me some really hairy questions. I don't think anyone's asked me, what do I see in 10 years? Maybe we should, what are they called? You know, when you put, what are they called? Time something. And you bury it, like you write it down and you bury it. And then 10 years later,
Oh, a
you
time
pull it up.
capsule.
Time capsule, yes. We should absolutely time capsule this moment and somehow set a reminder for 10 years from now and go, what do we look like? This is what I thought it would look like.
Nice.
Yeah, that's very
Well,
scary.
you know
They
we're
call
not
those
through
class
yet.
reunions.
Yeah.
You know we're not through yet. I have another question for you.
Okay.
This is the big one.
Okay.
What are your words of wisdom for our viewers?
Choose your hard.
One
That's
more
it.
time.
Choose your hard.
Oh, your
It
heart.
is
Got you.
hard living in hell. It is hard to not change, and it is hard to confront the things that you need to confront to change. But if you take that now hard and you follow that trajectory 20 years, the hard of continuing to stay the same is going to either stay exactly where it is or get even worse. But if you choose the hard today and project out 20 years of growth, 20 years from now, your life is going to be unrecognizable and it's worth it. So that is my words of wisdom. Choose your hard. Everything's hard, but choose the right hard where there's an actual return on investment that not only heals you and your life now, but leaves a legacy of healing and resilience for every generation after you.
Nice. So you are future pacing.
Yes, I can do it in my life. Who do I want to be? And then who do I need to become? And how do I need to act and behave and think and eat and all the things in order to be there? But yeah.
That's right. Well, today's decisions are what achieves tomorrow's accomplishments.
100%. Love it. Absolutely. Massive advocate for that.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure traveling down your magical psyche highway. We've certainly enjoyed the trip.
Thank
I've enjoyed
you.
myself. Scott, do you have anything you want to throw to Ash?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Appreciate
You're
it.
so welcome. Thanks for having me, guys. It was a fun chat.
Thank you, Ashley. We appreciate having you here. It's so great to be down your highway. And for our viewers out there, we hope you've enjoyed the show. If you like us, give us a thumbs up. If you think we're assholes, we don't care. Just give us a thumbs down. We ask that you share. We ask that you subscribe. We ask you come back next week, and we hope you enjoy the show. And we hope to see you next week. Thanks for coming.
Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.